welcome to Game Breaks, where we break down your favorite games and how they're made. I'm Mr.Marksman, and today we'll be breaking down Elden Ring. There's a lot here, so I'm probably not going to be able to get to all of it. So if you'd like a part 2, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Oh, and before we begin, all the footage is from the gameplay preview as to avoid spoilers. Let's get to it, shall we? Alright, let's start off with the environments. First off, beautiful. Well done, professional, of course, it's FromSoft. The grass, beautiful. Great shadows, texturing, blend, even is affected by wind force. Actually, let's talk about that. Wind force. The simple effect that goes a long way. It's built into most engines, I'll use Unity for this example, and its only job is to manipulate grass, trees, and custom particles like hair to stimulate the effect of wind. Most modern engines already have this feature implemented, so it's really just a quick drag and drop and a couple tweaks to the settings. Alright, let's skip ahead a bit. You see the water? There is an entire system just to that. I'm gonna go ahead and break down how I think that was done. So let's use water as an example. The way the water knows how to interact with the player is colliders set under the feet of both the horse and the player. Those different sized ripples are all randomized. They're not actually affected by physics, which helps save memory and performance overall. Alright, so let's head over to the characters of this game. So the way you would make the hair is you'd apply a simulation or that coincides with the particles already in use. What does that mean? Those are big fancy words for something that is very simple. These hair strands are connected to a particle system, and it's built in to work with both the wind force in the game and the movement of the player. The combination of all of that helps add the realism you're seeing right now. Alright, so we all know that there are a lot of classes, builds, models, etc. for the character Tarnished, but there are a couple core elements in every single one. Alright, so let's look at the pants of the Tarnished. Sounds weird place to start, but whatever. You notice the simulation, or the fluidity of the bottom? So the way this was done is made by using cloth simulations. In order to get the best result, thousands of tiny squares called polygons need to be added to an object, which can hurt performance if not optimized correctly. Alright, let me do a quick breakdown of this dragon. This was probably made by many professionals and a lot of complicated parts, so I'm just gonna go over the basics. We've already talked about the hair, so I'm gonna go over the scales. There are 3 basic parts to a texture. You've got the base color, you've got the bump, and the roughness. So the original texture is pretty self-explanatory, but the bump map is pretty amazing. What it does basically is it gets the shadows and details of a flat image and makes it 3-dimensional. The roughness is just an added level of detail. It adds more detail to the already 3-dimensionalized flat texture. Bit complicated, so let me put that all in simple terms. You have a flat texture that becomes 3D off of a bump map. Then there's another added level of detail put by the roughness map. Alright, let's head over to the particles. Alright, so if you look at the dragon fire, there are some games like Far Cry, right? Where fire physically interacts with, let's say a tree, where you'll actually see the tree burn down over time. This isn't really the case here. Now that's not a bad thing. The reason why they chose not to do that is 1, it's a bit more intensive on the performance, and it's also a lot harder to do. Now that doesn't mean that there isn't interaction going on with the particles. If you look at some of his weapons, like the light arrows, you can see that while they're being shot, there's interaction and lighting emitting across the water and the environment in total. Another good example of interaction is when you look at the tarnished, cut the dragon. Notice how the blood looks like it's affected by gravity. Going back to particles, this is not used by polygons, even though there are polygons definitely, but these are basic textures applied to tiny flat circles. And the reason why it's a little bit lower poly is so that there's not as much of a performance hash. It's these tiny decisions that really help in the long haul. Because if you think about it, every character that you can attack has blood. Alright, let's head over to the mechanics. What makes a game a game? Let's talk about traversal. Riding your horse is fun in this game, and the reason why that makes a difference is because it heightens the pace of the game while not taking away from the beautiful environments and aesthetics. So what makes the horse fun to ride? Well, it's back to the things we've previously talked about. It's the particles, it's the polygons, it looks great, it's also continuous, and the reason why that matters is because you're going to be riding for long distances. If it's not seamless, then you'll notice those things throughout the entire game. Alright, so let's talk about the thing that everyone likes in this game. The character builds. So the reason we like character builds is it essentially is the only way to physically put your traits into the game. You become invested in the hero, and you get to play the way you want. There's no right or wrong. You could invest in stealth, in magical abilities, up to you. Also, another good example is when you start off the game and you gotta use the character creator. Also kind of reflects your personality. You could be a handsome Squidward, or, I don't know, an elf. So the one thing that makes FromSoft games wildly popular is the difficulty. Now this is the goal and purpose of every game ever made. Dopamine. When you invest time and effort into beating an enemy, it becomes that much more rewarding. That reward is both the satisfaction of ending an enemy, and usually a shiny item or coin that comes after it. Overall, there's just so much here. It truly is a work of art and deserves every bit of praise that it's getting. I didn't even get into the story, audio, art direction, lighting, and a ton more. Thank you for watching, and if you'd like to see more, I mean, you've been on YouTube long enough. You know the drill.